All right, so I'm back. Again, another 5 days of so far of blocking and spotting in different areas that I found while blocking, as far as low spots in the hood. I've been spending a lot of time on the hood. Probably spent the most time on the hood because it's such a big expanse. I had to glue back. Like I said, I think I mentioned it in the last video. The inner liner had broken free on this hood, so I was working along. The thing's oil canning, and I'm saying, geez, I gotta get this thing to stop oil canning. And then I put some of that, some windshield urethane between the inner liner and the outer skin, and let it set overnight, and that kind of stiffened the whole thing back up, because all of the little spots where it normally attached were all broken free. But anyway, I digress. So there's been a lot of low spots that I've had to reconcile. Some more severe than others, places where it actually needed Bondo again, not just this polyester filler. This area here needed a lot more attention. I've got one more area to block. It's this tailgate and the roll pan. I'm just finishing up this application over here. But one of the things I neglected to do was to take a really close look at the bumper. I just remounted the bumper. I was looking at some pictures of a GNX that the Ring brothers had done, and they did a magnificent job of making their own front bumper that was very integral to the car, like a modern car would be. And they opened up this whole area here, which that's not something I'm going to do, because I've got a license plate section over here. I don't want to dam that up in case I ever sell it. Somebody might need a license plate mounted in the front. They have a big grill opening that takes in that whole area. Mainly what they had done was they made all of this continuous out of steel, like the bumper is all one piece and going in here, and then this all blends in very nicely. And as you can see, that's the way these bumpers fit. That's kind of horsey. You got a large gap at the bottom over here. It doesn't really comply with the profile of this filler piece over here. So before I get any more product on this, I got to haul the welder in here. I think I'm going to cut these ends off, and I'm going to see if I can't roll them in a little bit to make them look a little bit more intentional, not like just what happened when they built this car. They were just kind of slapped on. They look fine from the front. You don't really notice it, but this approach over here to me just looks like, yeah, that just looks like somebody didn't pull up their socks. So I'm going to get involved with that here next before I get because what I have to do is, after I get done the remainder of this blocking, I got to apply another coat or two, depending on how everything goes, of the slick sand, and then I've got to go ahead and block it down again, and then again with progressively lighter grits of sandpaper, and hopefully we can work towards applying some final paint on this somewhere along the line. Actually, what's got to happen before that is I have to disassemble this entire thing, take the doors off, take the hood, the whole front end clip off of here, and paint the jambs, paint the insides of the doors. Same with the tailgate, and remount everything back up before I do the final block and the final paint, which is a number of weeks away. But I can only spend so much time on this due to the amount of physical labor that it takes to not cut corners. I mean, you could probably go over this and do a pretty decent DA job, mechanical blocking, as they say. But this is some pretty long, straight stuff here, and I think that you'd see the waviness, even though I've picked a couple colors, which is going to be, it's going to be a flat black from this body line down, but the rest of the car is going to be a destroyer gray, which is a solid color. It's light, light colors are great for both maintenance and hiding flaws in the bodywork. So, but I'm going to try and do the bodywork to the best of my ability anyway. I'm sure I'll miss a few things, but that's where we're at, and I'll pick you back up probably, it'll probably be when I get this bumper fit up a little bit better than it is right now. It's bolted up. It's not going anywhere, but you know, all of this stuff is kind of horsey. This fits nice and tight here, but now I'm going to have to come up with some kind of a bracket to hold this part of it up, because this is just, you know, flailing in the wind. It's a fiberglass piece, and it's not quite molded right. Neither side is really. You can see how far away. I got to stick my finger in here, and yet it's touching over here. Not great. So that's got to be rolled up. So I'm going to have to figure out a way of doing that in the end. That'll keep it rolled up like that. All right. So that's where I'm at right now. All right, so I took about a 1/2 inch pie cut out of the front of the bumper, and I got it to comply a little bit better, and I think I'm a little happier with that. It's not as cool as the Ring Brothers, obviously, but those guys are awesome, and I'm nowhere near their level of competence. But anyway, like I said, I took a pie cut out of here from nothing to a 1/2 inch. Of course, it doesn't meet up, so once I take the bumper back off, I'll have to bring it back out in the shop and fill that with weld, and of course, this whole thing's going to get painted, so I have to bust the chrome off of it and all that good stuff. Lots of holes to fill. Another work that has to be done, but anyway, I got it to comply with the side a little bit better, so I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so I've got the second coat of polyester filler sprayed on. Well, it was a hot one yesterday. Luckily, I had bought some acetone to thin it down, because it wouldn't come out of the gun at one point. It was so hot. It was almost 90 degrees in here by the time I put the fan on and started pulling some of the outside air in here. Anyway, I muscled through it, and now I've got to start blocking it again. So what I'll do is I'll take some of this, where is it? There it is. Guide coat, just a flat black paint. Not any flat black paint will do. Some of the flat black paint out there doesn't really dry up like you'd like it to, and when you go to do the blocking, sometimes it rolls up. You know, it's kind of gooey. So you got to get a flat black paint that's going to dry to where you can sand it off easily, and it doesn't interfere with anything. It doesn't conflict with any of the product. So at any rate, yeah, that's what's next. So I'm going to put the guide coat on, and we're going to start from scratch again. So it's taken me 6 days from the last time I coated it to get to this point, and so I imagine it's going to take another 6 days before I get through every panel here and move on to the next step, which hopefully will probably be another little bit of a touch-up with some polyester filler, and then maybe some spray-on poly, which is the slick sand. I don't have a can out right now. I thought I had a can sitting here. Oh, that's right. I threw them both in the garbage because they were both done. Yeah, $189. $189. There's $400 worth of good times, but wouldn't want to be without it. This stuff works a charm. Anyway, I got another gallon out there, and hopefully I won't need the whole thing to do another coat, although some people recommend between 3 and 5 coats total by the time you're done to get the build up to be what you need it to be to hold up. And we'll see how that goes, see if I need all that. But I might just be spotting some areas in, depending on how they look. Okay, I'm sure that more than a few of you have blocked the car, but I thought I'd show anybody who isn't familiar what I'm talking about here as far as what's going on. Now, I did most of the Bondo work. I did that with an 80 grit sandpaper on a block. Sometimes I would use the DA to kind of get everything kind of into the neighborhood, because sometimes the Bondo gets built up a little bit high, and to sit there with a block and hand block it down sometimes is just a waste of sandpaper. So you knock down some of the high spots sometimes with the DEA. The DEA is a random orbital sander, which is this. You know, it's air. Put a little oil in there. It's a little bit clogged up, but gotta be careful. Don't put too much oil on it. I don't want it spraying all over my Bondo work here. Anyway, so
I'll go ahead and use this to knock down any big areas when I'm with the 80 grit while I'm doing the Bondo work. And so now I also, the last coat, there were so many corrections that had to be made. I started out with a 180 grit and then quickly realized that I was nowhere near the point that I needed to be as far as progress to start using the 180 grit. Anyway, I'm there now with this coat to be able to use the 180. What I like to do is to use the DA first to just kind of go over it very lightly and just kind of break the skin, if you will, on the on this polyester filler. It just kind of gets a nice eggshell on it, and I like to just break it up a little bit just to make the block sanding just a little bit easier, give it a little bit of tooth, if you will. And then the best thing to do on these large surfaces is to use as long a block as possible. But you have to keep in mind that you have like areas like here where it rolls up, and in the back where it rolls up, and then there's these little details where it's these little cul-de-sacs where the body changes shape. So you can't get too crazy. This is a block that you would have to use if you're really going to get, and this I used at the beginning to really get a good average over a long span of the hood while I was doing the Bondo work. But now it's a pretty good average. So this is a reasonable size here, and basically all it is just a using a crosshatch motion. And these are flexible blocks, these door blocks, and they basically allow me to just keep it rolled over. So I put the pressure on both ends of the block while I'm doing it, and then I'll stand in one direction for a little while, and then I'll change directions, go this way in the next pattern, and then finally I'll go back and forth, basically 4 different directions to try and average out the panel so that I'm not going and creating a gully in any one direction. And you can see I've exposed, there's a spot here and there's a low spot here. Hopefully I'll be able to work this down with the blocking. There's enough material in there. There's another spot up there. You can see up there, it's the yellowish color where I've broken through a little bit. But basically the guide code is just there so you can keep track of the areas. It shows very quickly where the irregularities are, and it's very important not to work in just one area. If you see something heavy that has to be done, is to just keep moving out of the area and basically try to take down the surrounding area with the problem area as you go. Every once in a while, break out of that area and get farther away from the area. And again, try to switch directions as much as possible. That helps to average everything out. But it's a long process, and your arms are falling off by the time you're done. But that's just the only way I know to do it. Later on, I'll just lightly go over it again with the DA to get a random pattern on that, so there's not too many hash marks in the primer. At any rate, after I'm done here, I'll probably just go ahead and, like I said, I'll spot it in with some a few places where I need a little bit of fill, maybe over here with a little more polyester sprayed on, and then I'll go over again and I'll do the whole car probably just with a DA just to clean it all up, and then I'll go down to the next grade of probably a 220 sandpaper all the way down to finally a 400 before I can put a sealer on this if it's ready at this point. It may not be. I may get 3/4 of the way done here and see a bunch of more spots that I missed that need a little bit more body work, in which case I'll do that, and then I'll spray the car again and I'll repeat this process. And anyway, that's the long and the short of it. It's ugly, but it's why these cars cost so much money to paint. Labor rates these days are out of control, but hey, everybody's got to eat, and stuff takes time. So it's not collision work. Collision work is, they don't put this much effort. Obviously, they've got products designed to just go on very quickly onto panels, and they've got different techniques. But you're getting involved in, renoing an old car body, man. It's just it's a slog. That's why most body shops, they don't even want to touch these old cars anymore. People complain about how much they cost, to do this kind of work, but at the same time, you know, it's just too much trouble for these shops. You can't make any money on it, even as much as they charge for the most part. Okay, I've rambled on long enough. Back to breaking my arms.
All right, just continuing on with the block sanding over here. You'll recall maybe you'll recall that I had to fabricate these brackets here. Probably spent a day fabricating these brackets to tie the fiberglass nosed portion of this front end to the El Camino core support here, and just to stabilize it. So I made these two brackets here, one there, one over there, and then the one in the center over there. And I decided to take a break one day and pull all the stuff off the shelves, all my parts, because I had mixed in with a bunch of other stuff, and try to get a little bit more sense of what needed to be disposed of and what needed to be kept for the finishing of this project, that sort of thing, because it was out of control. Everything was scattered everywhere. There were Camaro parts, I have some Firebird parts, some Charger parts. They were all mixed in, and I had to get them sorted a little bit better. So in the process of cleaning things out, this shows up. I'm like thinking it's part of the El Camino, and well, fellas, boy, that was a lot of extra work for nothing. That's the bracket that actually does that. So I'll be taking those homemade brackets out, and this is more substantial support, as you can see, from side to side, so that's the way to go. Anyway, you can never be too organized. At any rate, the reason I took the break to sort all that stuff out is I had to take and move these two shelves that were up against the wall. I'd long abandoned the idea when I built this shop 15 years ago. I had everything provided for future tools. I wired up everything for the compressor. I ran wiring for just about everything, but I finally decided to get off the dime, and I had this installed, which has been a long time coming. Like I said, the wiring was already in the wall to run the electrical for this. I've been saving this space when they put the building up. You can see I've got these cross ties in the middle, and I had this last one left out, and I put a cross tie on that end over there and another one over here, a little stronger than these other cross ties, in order to leave this ceiling space open for the possibility of a future lift, which I had pretty much given up on the idea of that, because I couldn't see how I was going to spare the space for this lift. It's going to make it a little harder to maneuver cars into the main shop. Just this one little alleyway over here. As you can see, things get crowded very quickly here. Just one car in this shop, but it's apart, so everything's scattered. And I like to work on the cars over in this area because I've got all my lighting set up there, but getting the cars in and maneuver is going to be a little bit tougher now that I got this in the way. But this is really going to come in handy as far as saving my back. The main reason is also I was trying to think about how I'm going to deal with putting this car back together. I bought this car as a roller, the Camaro, and I could have probably used this all along through the project, but with the Camaro, the way the engine has to go in is you have to lift the car up, and then basically the engine's bolted to the cradle with the suspension on it, and you drop the car down over top of the engine. It's not dropped through the top, through the hood. The same is true for I've got another project I have to work on here after I'm done with this, which I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do with this yet, but I bought a pig and a poke. I went through all of that earlier in my videos with this GTO out here, but same deal. I've got to drop this motor down and out. The transmission has to be dropped down and out to be worked on, and it's the same situation where you've got to lift the body up off of the engine. So with that in mind, I went into my stack of Confederate bills that I have hidden in the lawn and the backyard, and I had this installed. I tried to think of a cheap way of doing all of this, and it's just
I just had to bite the bullet and get it done. And I had a team of guys come in here yesterday, but in the meantime, I had to clear out all the shelving that I had here and all the stuff that was on it, and condense it and all that good stuff. Anyway, that's been preoccupying my week, and I haven't got a whole lot done the last couple of days on the car. It's Friday. I'm going to go back to block sanded, but I just thought I'd give you a little update here, and I'd like to thank everybody for following along. And I know it's not very exciting, and it won't be for quite a while, because, like I said, this is all takes a lot of time to do this paint work. I will see you on the next one.